Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the Underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The Underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the Underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion each and every week. And this week on the show, we're going to be breaking down the epic new second trailer for Andor Season 2, and we'll be diving into an assortment of the latest and greatest pieces of Star Wars news. And of course, stay tuned till the end as we answer your questions. All this and much more on this episode of the Star Wars Underworld Podcast. Joining me all the way from Dr. Nuvo Vindy's lab, it's Dominic Jones.
Hello, Chris. Hello, Hannah. Hello, everybody. For longtime listeners of the show, you might be listening to this going, hey, why does Dom sound like he did on day 4 of Star Wars Celebration Chicago? I thought Celebration Japan was next month. I'm trying this new thing of getting sick before celebration instead of during it or after it. I thought that might be a fun way to make Japan a little bit different. And also under normal circumstances, I would skip this week's show, but I will literally be on a flight to the other side of the globe during next week's show. So I figured this was my last chance to make an appearance from my usual location. Plus, there's an Andor trailer. I can't not gravelly talk my way through an Andor trailer. Come on now. It's going to be a great-ish show.
Heck yes. And whoa, what is this? It is a surprise appearance from Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, guys? Sorry I'm late.
Oh my god, so good.
Ben who spent the last week telling us he wouldn't be here, by the way.
Yeah.
Is this a prank? I also spent the last week telling myself that I wouldn't be here, but lo and behold,
oh great,
it happens. So hey, hi guys, how's it going?
Ben, where are you?
I'm in an undisclosed location.
It looks like you're inside of a toothpaste tube.
Like I mean, there's a light switch right there, so that should give you an idea. I'm actually, I'm in a physical location, if you will. Sorry to throw off the show. Just had to do that.
Love it. So good. Great.
We need someone to throw on the show, so that just happened.
Zing.
And then also joining us, somehow going from like the top build co-host to like the 4th again because of 2 surprise appearances. I don't know what conspiracy is going on. It's Hannah from the Raeside.
G'day there. Great to be back for another week of discussions. And yes, I cannot wait to discuss kind of what's coming up. It's going to be, I feel like it's been a little quieter. We're getting through the weeks with the news, but, you know, we're getting into this fast pace. It'll hit us all at once. We'll jump into Japan and Celebration and Andor straight after that. It's going to be a crazy few weeks coming up. So excited for what I think may be my second last show. Similar to Dom, getting ready, those last minute preparations for Japan. So yeah, good to be here.
Yeah. Amazing. Let's go through some promos extremely quick. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. You can super chat. You can become a channel member. You can review if you haven't left a review. If you're not on a Discord, join our Discord. Link is in the description. Follow us on social media at the SWU and check out all the other shows we got on the Star Wars Underworld Network. The Raeside, I'm Kenneth, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, Tractor Beam, and more. Done.
Boom. All right. Andor trailer. I'm going to try and do this with as few words as possible. So, Andor trailer. What did we think? Ben, throw to you first.
I don't know what to say because I haven't prepared for this at all because I wasn't expecting to be here. It was a cool trailer. It was a really cool trailer. Obviously very different from the first trailer. And honestly, I think I preferred the first trailer. I know maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think this is obviously that was the pump up trailer, and this was the somber, this is what the show actually is. This is what you're actually going to be watching. This is the very slow, methodical, dour, melancholy Andor that we've all come to things, not the punk rock Andor that we got from the last trailer. So yeah, great all around.
Hannah, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving the action and intensity in each of these trailers, and just every character, every facet of the different storylines we have in this show just feels like it's gonna be times 100. It's so exciting. All the Luthen stuff, all the Mon Mothma stuff, all the Cassian stuff. I'm really kind of looking forward to Cassian really, I think I said this last week, really coming into his own more. I think season 1, he was very much obviously just kind of, I don't know what's happening. Why would I go there? Very almost nonchalant about it, just kind of sitting back and listening, where this season he just seems completely on the forefront, and becoming the leader that he was. So yeah, great trailer, just looks so fantastic production wise, looks so clean, so professional. We had all those reports about the money going into the show and you can see it. So yeah, really excited. Good looking trailer.
Chris, what do you think?
I definitely will agree with Ben that, the punk rock trailer definitely had a lot more energy to it. But this one definitely had some fascinating stuff in it, and I just hope that we get as much percentage of Senate stuff in the show as we got from the trailer, because that would make me happy. If a few seconds from the trailer translates to maybe several minutes of it in the show, I'll be happy with that. So that was cool to see more of that, and it did really feel like, again, the trailer was really just showing kind of the real beginning of the season. I don't feel like there was anything that really jumped out at me as being really, really deep into the season, looking at everything that was in it, which is good because I kind of don't. I want that to unfold naturally. I don't necessarily need to be teased about what happens in episode 8 of 9 of the show. So yeah, really, really exciting. And gosh, we're so close away. We're less than a month away now till the premiere.
Yeah, I want every Star Wars trailer to be like the first Mandalorian trailer, which showed, I think, footage from it might have been the second last shot of the last episode of season 1. Something ridiculous like that is in the first trailer for the Mandalorian. Yeah, it's a good trailer. It's weird that the teaser trailer is longer than the actual trailer for Andor. That's just a weird thing that doesn't really happen. But it was cool. It gave us a nice overview of what was going on. And I think, Hannah, to your point, like you said, Cassian in season 1, a lot of things were kind of happening either to him or he was along for the ride. Here it feels like he's steering the ship. He's taking the lead. He's sort of in command, and it feels like a lot of other characters are kind of taking that on as well. It's everybody feels like they're more involved, whether it's Mon Mothma, whether it's Luthen, Cyril, all of them. They feel like they're going to be active participants in a way that season 1 was kind of about the machine of the Empire and how overwhelming it could be. This season is about people taking action against it. One shot that I know has got people talking is Deidre Miro. Mm-hmm. I didn't even have to say anything more than that. Grabbing at her throat. Force choke? Panic attack?
It's got to be a force choke. How could they show that and it not be a force choke? That would be
they Tony Gilroy knew you'd say that, I think.
Yeah. No. I feel like that could be all part of the plan.
No.
So mind games.
Yeah.
Obviously the idea of a force choke, a character any character, like, because let's face it, we most associate the Force choke with Vader, but Palpatine's been known to utilize that particular Force power from time to time. I think Palpatine, to me, has more of an opportunity to show up here than Vader, but also Vader has a knack for just showing up unexpectedly.
He's there
from out of nowhere and doing his thing. So I mean, you can't rule it out, but I do also like the idea of a panic attack. I like the idea of Dedra kind of
somebody clip
what
that.
A line. I was about to say clip that. I like the idea of a panic attack.
No, nobody clipped that. Okay, don't you dare. Okay, internet, do not do your thing. I like the idea of Dedra having a fictional heart attack or fictional panic attack or whatever you want to call it. And I do ultimately I think the first season was all about Dedra kind of working up the ranks and being all, getting where she wanted to be. I think the last episode is like her being absolutely like, as I again finished my Andor rewatch over the weekend, and it was great. And like watching her in Rick's Road being absolutely, come face to face with death, like basically at the hands of some rioters, like, she's really at the bottom at when I'm assuming she starts the next season, and very curious to see where she goes. I think her kind of devolving over the course of season 2, I think, would be really interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead, Anna. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think Deidre's definitely on my list of characters that I think are probably going to die at the end of this season as well.
I agree.
And I mean, we always have the argument these days with the different, stories and media we have of like, oh, well, she wasn't in the movies, so she must die. But there's also many instances of characters being in things and not showing up later on, and they're still alive. So I think there is, in saying that, a logical kind of storyline here for Dedra, because I think it's the rise and the kind of hope she has in her role in the Empire that needs to have this downfall. And I can definitely see her dying at the end of the season. Whether that is, I think a very obvious but kind of poetic one would be sort of at the hands of the Empire, whether that's Palpatine, whether that's Vader. I think that would make a lot of sense for her character. But I'm not saying that I think this Force choke, she dies right here, but definitely she's threatened all season, and then I think by the end of it she'll be gone. She'll be killed by her own kind of aspirations, as the line goes.
If it is a Force choke, I like the idea of Vader maybe showing up and Force choking her a la Krennic, just to scare the crap out of her.
Yeah,
turn her kind of a reverse, radicalization, and if you will, like she's believed in this thing and she's done all this, and now she meets Vader and is like, oh yeah, he'll just kill me like it's nothing. Like, what am I, having her question her whole thing, I think would be very satisfying.
The interesting thing about including a character like Vader, less so with the Emperor, but more so with Vader, so much of season 1 and of the season 2 marketing so far has really leaned into the rebellion side, and there hasn't been much of a mention of Jedi, Force, anything sort of mystical or spiritual in that way, which in most Star Wars things, even Rogue One is a big part of it. And I know that when they were writing the book that came out recently, The Mask of Fear, they intentionally left Vader out of that book because they didn't want to have, they wanted the Empire to be scary on its own. The idea of the Empire, the idea of this fascist regime to be scary on its own, and without, the big scary monster showing up, because that's what Vader is essentially. He's just a monster. Having him show up in this would be a reminder that this story is actually set in Star Wars. It's not set in a different sci-fi universe. Cassian, Luthen, Mon Mothma, these characters on their own aren't going to be able to defeat the Emperor and Vader because they don't have that element to them in the way that Luke, Leia, the Jedi, Obi-Wan, that those characters do, because that is ultimately a big part of taking down the Empire. And so to include that in this show, one, it ties it in with all of Star Wars, but it also sort of could underscore the importance of Luke and Leia in the sense that the rebels, for as much power and as much strength and as much inspiration as they can provide on their own, the Empire is still unbeatable because they have Vader and the Emperor and the dark side of the Force. And so you could bring in Vader and just sort of remind everybody that, yes, this depressingly familiar rise of a imperial regime that's happening right here that feels very similar to what we see on our news these days. That's awful, but this is still a fictional story set in a fictional universe where there is a magical bad guy, magical monster that still needs to be beaten at the end of it. So I think that would be an interesting, for as realistic as Andor has been, it would be an interesting element to inject into the series in this final season, leading into Rogue One, which is where Vader is a big part, and then A New Hope and the original trilogy onward.
Yeah, very much mirror what happens in Rogue One, if that's the case.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. What else stands out to us? What are other moments from the trailer that grabbed you?
The giant snow creature that looks almost like a Tulsa, but I don't think is.
Yeah. No, what's his name? Moff or something?
It's
Moroff,
right?
Moroff, yeah.
He's
he's a Rogue One.
He's a dude that was like really heavily advertised for Rogue One, and I don't think he had nearly this big of a role as
I don't even remember him.
There's even, and I love I get my tinfoil hat on every time I see him, because I'm like, there's like behind the scenes photos of, because like he's part of Saw Gerrera's partisans, but then there's photos of him and video of him on the beach on Scarif, even though he's dead before all those scenes happen in the movie. So like it doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, what was going on there? Gilroy and Gareth Edwards, what did you do? What were you trying to do there?
Wow. That's great. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Another shot that I absolutely loved was Mon Mothma just like losing her shit in the Senate. Yes. Like, it's so good. That's gonna be, and I really do hope that kind of lives up to, I think, all of our expectations at this point of her just really being who she was in that time, and figuring out the frustration of trying to help the rebellion, trying to understand and dismantle the Empire. This frustration just outbursts of her in a senatorial meeting of some sort. I just love that concept. I really hope we get to see that in like full, just a complete scene of just her going at it and just yelling at everyone, and then they try and arrest her. And then I think from a previous trailer, we have a scene of like, it looks like to be Cassian and her running down the stairs of what looks very Coruscant-y and very kind of Senate-y. I'm assuming that's the storyline where kind of Cassian is there to help her out and break her out before she's arrested for kind of, what do they call it? Not treachery.
Treason?
Treason. Yeah. I'm assuming.
It's treason.
It's treason then.
I think that was my.
I should mention that I'm looking at the shot. There's I think it's one of the first shots you see of the Senate. It's an overhead shot looking over Mon's head, and there's a figure in the middle podium.
Yes,
of the Senate.
Yes,
there's someone standing. There's a lone figure, and I'm zooming in. I'm just like, it don't look like Palpatine, but doesn't not look like Palpatine. It also doesn't. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's very, very, very
Sly Moore. It's Sly Moore. That's my theory.
It's our long-awaited appearance from Masameda.
You'd see those horns from a click away, though.
Who is it? Actually, yeah. I feel like we should get it on the screen because this is such a interesting shot. I'm not signed in, so I can't even do it. Right, Ben, where are you?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Ben, you talk for a second about something. Pick it. Pick whatever you want.
16th second of the trailer. By the way, Dom.
I will bring up the fact. Another thing is really cool that we see not just Saw Gerrera, not just looking like he is in Rogue One, but the fact that he's straight up on Jedi. You see, again. Use your. I love YouTube because they give you the ability to zoom in on certain shots. You can clearly see in the background there's Jedha City and the Star Destroyer hovering over it, which means like we're right there. We're right there at Rogue One. This is most definitely the 4th episode arc, and there you go. Things. Yeah, there's someone up there.
Here's the scene.
It doesn't look like a Dark Hood, so it's definitely not Palpatine. I think this doesn't show it too well, but if you look at it on your own screen in HD or whatever, 720, get it up there, Dom. Come on.
Jeez, sorry.
There's should be nicer.
Let me put on the enhanced bit rate. No, I don't have preview.
No, you gotta pay extra for that
one. It almost looks like a yellowy greeny. I want to say.
I was gonna say green. I don't know where they got green up there. What?
That is neither. That's neither Masamita or Sly. So Sid from the Bad Batch, is that you up there? I don't know. Crazy.
Watch it just be like a droid. Watch it be like we're spending so much time on it. Watch it just be some like.
You know what? You're probably right. You know what it'll be? It'll be a droid standing up there, but then Ian McDermott's voice, Palpatine's voice coming out of the droid, like they did in that episode of Clone Wars.
Because that is a thing
with Padme.
That is a thing that is been established. I think it goes back years and years in the lore. But even like, I just finished listening today to from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi. And like, there's a character in that thing. So it's like, when's the last time you saw Palpatine outside of a hollow? Like, there are things like the whole idea that Palpatine's been hidden away for years and years and years, and we can assume this is at least 4 years, if not sooner, to A New Hope. If this is the big speech, we're thinking maybe a year before A New Hope, maybe. I don't think it makes sense for Palpatine to show up in the Senate. I think he's done with that. He doesn't want things. He's just, what happens in A New Hope is just an excuse for him. Like, okay, that meeting that I never show up to anyway, let's just abolish that. Let's just, you guys can just stop meeting. Let's stop wasting each other's time.
Yeah, I wish I could do that with some meetings that I go to. Thomas in the chat says, I'm zooming in, looks like a ball, so it's Slymore.
It's definitely Slymore.
Slymore.
Why Slymore in a green hood?
Yeah. No, it's got to be a droid. It's got to be a droid.
I mean, Slymore is one. I mean, I know Palpatine did get mentioned, but Slymore did get mentioned in season 1, so it's possible.
What was Slymore's official, job title?
Was it Vizier?
Was it just
someone else?
Was it just an assistant or
assistant to the regional emperor?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh my god, that's so good. That's so good. Like assistant or like confidant? I feel like there was some sort of terminology.
Confidant's definitely a thing. It could be that. I've heard that before.
Yeah. It's Palpatine's like personal confidant or something.
That's a visual dictionary term for sure.
Yeah. Maybe
if you don't know who they are, they're a confidant.
Because in the Revenge of the Sith one, and they've got all the dudes in the weird hoods.
Yes.
Actually, Joel in the chat, Joel probably knows them all like by name. There's random just groupies that is always with Palpatine.
The dignitaries.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Straight from Wikipedia. Here, get ready for this. Get ready for this illustrious title. The Umbaran woman who served as Supreme Chancellor Palpatine's Chief of Staff and Senior Administrative Aide.
Oh, Chief of Staff. Okay.
Chief of Staff.
There we go.
Staff. Why did I say that in an American accent?
Chief of Staff.
Chief of Staff. Gee, I'm spending too much time with you guys. Damn it. Chief of Staff. The other day I said mall when referring to a shopping center is what we call it here. I said, I'm just going to go to the mall. And I was just like, who the hell am I? What am I doing?
Going to the mall.
Everything's half off.
What are we talking about? Slymore is the Chief of Staff and executive administrator. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boom.
There you go.
Okay. Well, thank you. I just want to clear that up. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Joel says in the chat he thinks it's Masameda holding his staff.
We would see the two.
Look like there's somebody there with like a stick, though.
But we would see his horns. I think even from this distance, you would see a bit more of like something up.
Or maybe they're messing with us. It's not unfinished CGI. Maybe.
It's nothing.
It's just someone. It's someone in a green suit, in a green like. Yeah, that's true. Oh my god, that's good.
Man.
There you go. Ben, what's something else that stood out to you?
So there seems to be a lot happening on the planet that I'm just going to keep calling Dantooine, because we don't have an official name for it.
Definitely.
There's a lot happening there.
And actually, it'll be like, this isn't Dantooine, this is Bantooine. And they're just like, because they love naming things that are so
any ideas. Good Lord.
This isn't Dantooine, it's Daku.
Daku.
If JJ was in charge, that's what we'd get.
So there's a lot happening on this planet. Actually, it wasn't until I watched Star Wars Explained, Alex's breakdown of this, that I realized like there's a lot going on this planet. Like the fact that there's like, you know, obviously Bix and Brasso are there, and Brasso's getting harassed by Imperials. And if I swear to God, if they hurt Brasso, I'm just okay. I'm gonna try to keep myself under control here. But if they hurt Brasso, I swear to you. But then apparently the point where Cassian steals the TIE Avenger, he's seen flying that over the fields and reuniting with Bix at one point, I think in another trailer. A lot happening on this planet. I'm very, very curious. And then there's like this, it feels like this shot in particular is like they've gone on this planet that is away from the Empire. And they're like, oh crap, the Empire's here now. We've been found out we can't stay here anymore. Kind of a, you know, maybe a similar to Hoth vibe of just like, yeah, we just found this planet that's away from the Empire. Oh crap, they're here. Now we gotta move.
I have a crazy theory.
Oh.
Crazy crackpot theory for everyone. That all this Dantooine stuff, and assuming it is Dantooine, all this is after Rogue One. And it's after even A New Hope.
Whoa.
And it's in the future. And it's, you know, Tarkin's just blown up Alderaan. And they've taken Leia saying Dantooine, the base is on Dantooine. They're like, okay, well, we'll blow up Alderaan right now, but actually let's send a bunch of people to Dantooine anyway. And this is what we see of like, this is who's on Dantooine. We're going to kill them all because Leia told us this. Wouldn't that be crazy?
That'd be wild.
That's dark.
I don't think it would be. I think it's too crazy, but because you know they don't look that much older. Well, that's only like a year in advance or now about. So
yeah.
I don't know. That's my crackpot theory. Someone give me $20 if that happens.
I'm gonna say this is actually season 1, episode 1.
Oh, 4 years before.
Probably.
And then there's a flashback to the actual beginning.
Oh man.
Season 2, episode 1 is what I meant to say. Yeah, because Ben mentioned it. There's a shot of Cassian arriving on this planet in a TIE
Oh,
fighter.
of course. Oh, I think absolutely.
Ben,
I think my bubble.
Yeah, sorry. I think the season starts, just guessing here, but I think season starts with an action sequence of Cassian stealing a TIE fighter, and then he goes to visit all of his friends from Ferrix, and then he takes Bix on him on the adventures for the rest of the season, leaving the other ones behind for reasons.
But then there's also a really gnarly scene of Bix getting attacked by an Imperial, and she like whacks him in the face with a wrench or something. It's brutal.
Yeah, it's there's gonna be lots of fun. It's a fun action.
Fun.
We haven't talked much about this guy. This in this season, Cyril Karn. I have been won over by people saying Cyril is going to pull a callus and become a rebel by the end of this season.
Interesting.
I can see it.
His sense of justice that we saw in season 1 was much more in line with the rebellion than the Empire. He just happened to be trying to arrest Cassian for murder because, spoiler alert, Cassian murdered some guys. So he's not entirely wrong there. So it wouldn't shock me if he makes a turnaround at some point. Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bail out at this point because I think, as you can all hear, I'm dying a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I will leave the three of you to finish out this show. But it has been it's been fun as always, and I will see everybody in Japan for the next couple of weeks.
Bye.
Culminating Star Wars celebration.
Yay.
Bye.
Boob. I love the way you do that, Ben. Bye-bye.
I don't even know where.
I
think it's Star Tours, right? Is that? That's
it's Star Tours.
Yeah.
It's the last.
Bye now. Bye.
Yeah.
Wow.
In my head,
Star Tours.
forever.
Can someone explain that to me?
You tore the stars.
Is it Star Wars? I don't understand. I've never understood it. And every few months, it's like Star Tours update, and I'm like, what even is this? What's Star Tours?
You've never
Did we skip that? Did we skip that when we went to Disneyland? Did we not go on that?
It was at Disneyland? Why is it called Star Tours? Why is it not Star Wars Tours or whatever?
Is this the whole thing you've missed?
What is faster to say it? No, Star Tours. Star Tours is the original Galaxy's Edge before there was Galaxy's Edge, and then they added Galaxy's Edge over somewhere else. But that's the original Star Wars part of Disneyland.
So is Star Tours a ride or an area?
It is a ride.
I'm shocked you
it's
haven't.
both, but it's mainly a ride.
Right. It's just
it's an area and when you're in line for the ride, it's an area you get to see, and you get to see a lot of things. It's pretty extensive.
What do you see? What's there?
You're in an airport. You're in a Star Wars airport.
It's Star Wars version of an like an airline. You get in a thing, you get in a queue, they sit you down, you sit down. You put on your safety glasses, which are actually 3D glasses. You sit in a seat.
Right.
3PO is flying, and 3PO and R2 are flying the ship. And they blast off. And then like Vader's there or something. He's like, "No, you need to stop." And they're like, "Nope, we're gonna go." And they just take off. And you go out the ship backwards. You fly around. You go to one planet. You might end up on what's like a first planet you go to.
This is extensive.
Yeah,
it's
very
extensive.
One planet, and then you go to light speed, and you get a message maybe from somebody.
Yes,
and then you like,
from
hey,
Akbar,
there's a rebel spy
Yoda.
with you, and one of the people in the show is with you gets singled out as their picture is up on the screen. It says you're the rebel spy, and then they go to the next planet, and then you crash land, and then more recently it's been like, oh, you're going back to Galaxy's Edge, you're going back to Batuu, and I think that's Star Tours for anyone that doesn't know.
Okay, wow, I never knew.
I wasn't expecting just a cold relive Star Tours there. Sorry, guys.
So good. I'm glad I got that answered. Thank you.
It's much better just to write it and experience it. I kind of spoiled it for you.
I don't know. I kind of like. Well,
there's
yeah.
different ones. There's different.
You were just
ones,
going.
There's lots of combinations that you can do because there's like a few different parts, and
do they
randomly combine them.
Have Star Tours in Japan, Disneyland, Tokyo?
That's a good question.
I gotta
find
find
this out. I don't know the answer to that.
Because I'm actually not going to Disneyland Japan, Tokyo, or Disneyland Tokyo for that reason. Because I'm like, there's not enough Star Wars stuff there for me.
So maybe there must not be then.
But maybe I just didn't understand what Star Tours was.
Yeah, I always thought it was just in America. I'd never heard of it being in, because otherwise I would be hearing it in other languages or something, and I don't remember ever hearing that anywhere. I just remember the American version.
It is officially at Disneyland in California, Tokyo Disneyland.
It is
Disney's Hollywood Studios in Florida, and Disneyland Paris.
Wow!
So
there you go.
Almost all of them.
Why did I not write it in Paris? They must have. Maybe it opened after I went. I went in like 2016. Maybe I did. I just don't remember. The only thing I really remember about Paris is Ratatouille. That's like the only thing I remember.
That's good. That's amazing. Actually, that would be incredible.
Yeah, there was a Ratatouille thing that was great.
That's great.
So, Andor.
Are we still doing a show? Yeah.
We've been talking about Star Wars nonstop.
So they actually are adding some Andor stuff to Star Tours soonish, or maybe already. I don't know.
I think
not a Disney adult.
Okay. Why? I like how you got mad about it, like as if we said, Ben, do you know? Yeah,
I don't know everything. I know everyone thinks I know everything, but I don't actually.
All trivia questions need to be about current Star Tours updates in the next trivia.
That's how you stump me.
Yeah, let's do it.
All Star Tours updates questions.
But how many more Andor teaser trailers do you think we're going to get before the actual show?
Apparently, this is the last one. Apparently,
oh
this
really?
Is the last...
Does it say?
Final
I
teaser
thought
trailer?
somewhere somebody said this was the final trailer, which
I remember seeing that.
I mean, which means it's just the final trailer. There will be 1,000 TV spots and clips.
They love doing those. They love doing those little, just like of like the same scene we've seen like in 3 trailers. Yeah,
we'll get one frame that's different in each one. A little extra frame that's new.
They'll release so much that it'll be like, I've seen too much. I don't want to watch these anymore. I just want to watch the show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I usually don't watch the little 30-second things. Like, I don't really see
either do I.
Yeah. Especially since most of them are a week before the show, usually. So I'm really trying to wrap it up.
Yeah. And tying it into the celebration stuff as well, what I want to know your guys' take on, do you think that Andor is going to get the same treatment that Kenobi did for Celebration Anaheim, where even though the show's coming out about 4 days or 3 days after the Tuesday after Celebration ends, do you think the people that get to the Andor panel and special thing will also get a wristband to come back that night and watch the first 2 episodes?
They have to. Yeah, I would be shocked if they didn't. Like the moment that we had both the dates for the Andor premiere, even before that, when we just roughly knew when the Andor season would be happening within like the time of year, and we knew the celebration dates, I just assumed that they were related, and that's why they picked those dates. So I would be shocked if they didn't use the opportunity to get a bunch of press from people, seeing Andor and saying positive things about it a few days before it airs, so that the day that it airs, there's just article upon article about all these people saying it and saying things about it from Japan.
Well, because remember when they did Kenobi as well, that I thought this was actually so crazy that they did this, is they said, okay, if you're here right now, you can come back tonight and watch it. But then they also said, we are also changing the entire Disney Plus schedule, and we're not going to release the episodes later. We're going to release them tonight at midnight for everyone else around the world.
Yeah.
Which, wild, crazy. Actually, I think I went to bed early because, that's right, I had seen it. I went to the premiere.
Yes.
But then you guys, after the pod at IHOP, you all like filed into the hotel and watched it.
Yes.
At midnight Pacific time. So
there was a lot of people in that hotel room. It was not legal.
My only remembrance of that day is being at the panel, or whatever panel it was. I don't even know if I was streaming it or not, of them going, and we're going to have a premiere tonight, and you all have wristbands, and you're invited to come back and watch it tonight, and, you keep your wristband, and it's at like 7 o'clock, and I'm like, yay! And then simultaneously, I look at my watch, go, no, we have the podcast thing! Oh, God.
Yeah.
I was so angry.
Iconic.
And then just the rest of the night going like, okay, well, it's starting right about now. Okay. And here's all the people that could have gone, but are at IHOP with us right now. And then we start wrapping up the pod, and they're like, oh yeah, it's on Disney Plus now. Like, okay, well, pack up the speakers. Let's go. Let's go watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was such an iconic thing. So do you think the same thing will happen for Andor if they do go ahead with showing us at Celebration early? Are they going to go, by the way, everyone?
I think anything's possible. I think whatever they feel like they will do it. Like, I think so. I think obviously they have these dates, but then they shift them around, and you never know.
Yeah, I'm thinking the fact that it's in Japan, I think being in a very different time zone, I think separates it out a little bit more. There's not as much of an opportunity to line up the global premiere with the Japanese premiere that we are just assuming is going to happen.
And obviously, like, right now, they, like, from a production level, they need a release date, and they need it to, like, not only have a deadline, but, like, they need to know when to be done with it. And right now, there's still a few weeks. They could still feasibly still be working on visual effects and like that.
They need a CGI happening into the middle of that.
Exactly. They could be doing anything at this point. But, like, they don't have to, like, print it on film or put it in a cartridge to send out to theaters at a certain point.
Sure.
They just have to upload it to Disney Plus the night before, and it's done. So, like, you know, at a certain point, they're going to be done with it. The VFX team or whatever, the director's going to be like, okay, it's done. Here you go, Disney Plus. Here's the thing. And they're going to be like, oh, well, we have it now a week before. We can just put it on Disney Plus now.
Yeah, indeed.
It's a possibility. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Anything else about the trailer? I do have one thing I want to bring up about the trailer, unless anybody else has anything.
Good.
Let me hear it.
Real quick, I want to mention Clea. We all know Clea, Luthen's right-hand woman. I'm so fascinated by her appearance in this trailer. We get a close-up of her crying, like tear rolling down her cheek, like full stop, very intense. There's also a shot, there's a couple of shots, I think, of her looking very, like she's very prim and proper, dressed to the nines, like incredible. Her outfits have been insane so far, and she looks great in this trailer. But there's another part of it where she looks very disheveled and dirty, and she's telling Cassian, I think, it's a weapon. They're building a weapon, which very much, you know, throws me off because I'm like, do they know? How can they know about the Death Star? Can you know? I don't know how that's going to work, but ultimately, very, very curious to know like what they know. Do they know it's a weapon? Are they going to find out about the Death Star? I think Saw Gerrera at this point is really the only person that knows it's the Death Star or something like that.
Indeed, yeah. That is really curious. I'm just really curious how many of like the like secondary and tertiary characters they're going to be able to have really good like character arcs with in the show, with them moving through the timeline so fast. Like I'm sure Andor, Cassian's going to get a really good arc. You know, Luthen's probably going to get a good arc. Deidre's going to get a very good arc. But it's like all of these other characters that we spent some time getting to know with just, you know, the whole first year of this story being hyper focused on with an entire season. I'm interested to see how they're going to pick up those ends and continue to develop those characters. And Clea is definitely an interesting one as well.
Yeah, I feel like Andor season 1 did a really good job with Cassian's arc in regards to where he starts, where he ends. But I think a lot of the characters around him felt, from just a season 1 perspective, felt a little unsatisfying because it's like, I think that was meant to be. It's not a criticism necessarily. You know, you really don't. You're like, okay, what is going on with Cyril? What is going on? We can kind of see where Dedra's going, but we don't know what Cyril's doing. We don't know what Luthen is doing. You know, we kind of get an emotional beat at the end with Mon Mothma, you know, doing what she does with her daughter and you know, kind of giving her away for the sake of rebellion. You know, there's all that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how these characters kind of end, where they go. Obviously, some of them could die. I think that's a very things, but also some of them could just kind of ride off in the sunset. We might not see them again, and could assume that they're part of the rebellion later on. Whatever else, I don't know. I'm very curious to see which ones are going, or which, you know, how realistic will it be? Maybe some characters just freaking get shot, and that's it for them. And that's the reality. That's how real this show is. There's no character arcs in real life. There's just people die sometimes, and it would be so Tony Gilroy to be like, yeah, you thought this character was going somewhere? Nah, actually, they're just dead.
That is the arc. That's right. I forgot about that too. That was the other thing that I was going to mention. I forgot the wedding. We saw the wedding, and yes, that was.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah. It was like so quick. I forgot about
Tony Gilroy pretty much confirmed that yes, we will see Lita's wedding.
Yeah,
in this show,
and now we have in the trailer.
And now the trailer it's two people in white, and it's clearly Mon Mothma in like robes. So
yeah,
and even more exciting, looks like we might actually see Chandrilla in live action, which is something we have never seen before.
That would be cool. It better look like not California Hills like everything else.
I was gonna say we also better see the bloody Halcyon ship in this if we go to Chandrilla. That would be hilarious. Obviously, the ship after the Galactic Cruiser, the Halcyon Galactic Cruiser. That'd be so good. That'd just be such a multifaceted, just in joke with everyone at this point. Like with the studios, because they're like, we knew this was too much, and then we'll be like, haha, that was too much. But it's in the show. That'd be amazing.
I'm rooting for that for sure.
And then Kylo Ren or Rey are just they just go in the Halcyon in there, like on a bridge, above the thing, like having a duel. And they're like, what are you doing here? Well, here's the wrong timeline, guys.
What?
So good. So good.
Oh, no.
Love it.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, this is a great trailer. We're super stoked for the show. I think we got a little bit of... Did we get any other additional Andor news? That was really the main thing.
That was the big thing. I mean, there's a heck of a lot of Tony Gilroy quotes out there.
There was the one about the Gorman massacre confirming that is
right. Yeah, the biggest takeaway. I won't read the whole quote because I don't want to freaking bore you guys. But like, not that Tony Gilroy's boring, but a lot of these quotes can be summed up in a lot less time. Apparently it's going to take place over 5 episodes. And if you're doing the math, that's like an arc and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I'm very curious to see how that works out. I'm thinking maybe it similar to how we have the Narkina 5 arc, but that kind of it leads into the previous episode, kind of leads into it. And there's things I think Gorman and what's going on, then because they keep referring to even season 1, there's like the Gorman front, the whatever else. I think that's going to be a through line. It's not going to necessarily be consecutive. Like these 3 episodes are about the Gorman massacre. This is going to be like a ongoing thing through the season that's going to build up. Maybe going to come to a head. Maybe in the second or third arc, or maybe even the 4th arc. We'll see.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah, that's really definitely throwing off the ideas of how the show is split up, and paced. So that'll be really interesting. So yeah, that was probably one of the more interesting Andor related additional pieces of news from this week. We had some sad news this week. Clive Revel passed away at age 94. He's the OG Emperor Palpatine from before.
Predates Ian McDiarmid.
Yeah. I've definitely been around long enough to remember those versions of The Empire Strikes Back that had a very strange and different looking Emperor Palpatine. That somehow I didn't really notice as a kid was different until later, and I paid more attention. I'm like, wait, that's not what's going on here. And then quickly it was swept under the rug and gone by. And
it's so different watching because for anybody that hasn't I know probably most of you probably didn't grow up with those scenes, but you may have seen them. If you haven't, go watch them on YouTube. Just look up Original Emperor because there's been a great disturbance in the Force, and it's very different. It's so different. It is this things, and it's matched up with this monkey-eyed person who's actually I forget her name, but it's a woman with a mask on. It's a whole production thing. It's very weird. I don't know what George and Irvin Kershner were cooking up back then, but they were on different wavelengths than they came to be later.
What I want to know is when they concocted the idea of we're going to have this lady wear this prosthetic, we're going to splice monkey eyes in there, and then we're going to have Clive Revel voice over it. I wonder what their concept was of how they were going to do the next movie. Like... how are they going to do that?
And I like the fact that when they get to Jedi, they're just like, screw it. We're not screw continuity. We're going to do our own thing now. We're doing just get Ian McDiarmid, put some makeup on him. We're doing this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe disrespect to Clive Revel because he could. I mean, if they had paid any attention to continuity, maybe he could have been the Emperor. We could have had him in Rise of Skywalker.
I think this goes back to my really crackpot theory that even I disagree with when I look at the evidence, but I still like my theory that the original trilogy was supposed to be 9 movies. And that idea pervaded for a very long time until at some point George Lucas was like, screw it, I want to be done with this, and just kind of smashes together Return of the Jedi to finish off the series. But maybe there was an original concept back, when they were doing all that 1978 probably was when they were coming up with ideas for the monkey eyes. Like, at that point, we're talking about, this is the same year about when, like, you're coming off the heels of originally going to be Splinter of the Mind's Eye and a completely different story idea. So I feel like the story of Star Wars is still very fluid in, like, 78. And so my idea is, like, maybe they weren't going to actually have all those climactic scenes with the Emperor until many, many years later. So they just wanted him to appear here and there as a hologram. Again, like what you said, Ben, that reference from the books about, when have you seen him and he's not been a hologram? Like, like, and so that's why, to them, it wasn't going to be as jarring. There was going to be more of a transition to maybe an actor doing it. And it just all of a sudden got condensed by this. Okay, we need to wrap this story up, make one last one, make episode 6, and then be done with it. And then they just, it was just really jarring to go from one to the other because of that.
Yeah, I think maybe being that they did Palpatine the way they did in Empire, I think maybe even at that point they were like, this is the only time we're going to see this character. He's not going to be the main baddie in Return of the Jedi, which he is. I think they were still in that point of just like, oh, the Emperor is just this nebulous person that gets referred to every once in a while and maybe shows up a hologram. So it is interesting, like, but they had it all planned out from the beginning, right, guys? It was all planned out. George had everything nailed down in writing and everything from the very beginning. Don't you forget it.
Like Super Commando Boba Fett.
I loved Din's comment, and I was actually going to say the exact same thing of, I would have loved if they did the whole somehow Palpatine returned and it was Clive as Palpatine. That would have been cool. So good. Like such a deep cut thing. That'd be so fun.
Or like one of his clones was like, quote, deformed, but it was actually like the monkey-eyed Emperor. That would have been interesting.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That would have been quite the way
so good. So good.
Is it time, Hannah? Is it? I don't want to cut you short.
But I don't want to usher me out, but I will usher myself out. But yes, I got to wrap it up there for this week, gang. But I'm hoping to be here next week. I should be. But then, yes, similar to Dom, like I said, I'll be en route to my travels to Japan for celebration. So I'll see you next week. Thank you so much for a great discussion, lads, and have a great rest of the show. So good.
Great.
All right. Bye, everyone.
See you later.
Catch you later. Bye. I love that. Bye. I love that.
I could not do it.
Amazing. So that was the sad.
Yeah, very, very sad. And like, it should be pointed out that Clive Revel had an amazing career. Look at his credits: film, television, Broadway. So many credits in his name, and it's a shame that it's like, oh, things like the Emperor from Star Wars in that cut scene. It's like the dude had a way bigger repertoire than Star Wars. That was just a footnote in an incredible career. But yeah, rest in peace. Amazing.
Indeed. Hard reset. Now there's a piece of news coming out that it looks like people that are attending Star Wars Celebration Japan are going to have a chance to experience a new mixed reality playset experience from Industrial Light and
apparently
Magic.
They're not calling it a virtual reality game. They're not calling it a VR experience. It's a playset. It's a mixed reality playset. It's for the MetaQuest headsets. And I will be honest, I don't have any experience with any of this stuff. I know I've had very little experience with virtual reality stuff. But this new thing that they just announced as of today, as of recording, is called Star Wars Beyond Victory. And apparently this will focus on a character named Volo Bolas. He is a aspiring, up-and-coming pod racer who apparently gets involved with and teams up with none other than Sebulba.
Wow.
Around the time of Solo: A Star Wars Story to apparently, quote, win it all. So this was very unexpected. A lot of deep cuts here. Finally getting some Sebulba content after 25 years. So in a time period that I didn't expect. I'll be honest, I probably will never play this because I don't have a MetaQuest, but I don't know, maybe I'll watch the YouTube playthroughs if they post them. But this is pretty cool. I don't know. What did you think about this, Chris?
Yeah, it's cool that they're doing a racing experience with VR because I think a lot of, or mixed reality, whatever they're calling it, because, you know, they've done some kind of like lightsaber action experience and stuff like that and blaster experience. So it's cool that they're kind of moving on to some different types of gameplay with ILM. So yeah, this is cool. And Sebulba is definitely not something that you would expect. But it's a very welcome surprise because a lot of this VR stuff has focused on original trilogy concepts. So it's cool to have a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I think this is very cool. I think they've done, because they had a lot of VR stuff. I mean, they had, what was it? Tales from Vader's Castle.
Yeah,
maybe that was a
Tatooine.
Trials of Tatooine. Yeah. They've had several really cool VR things, and it seemed like kind of in the background. ILM X Lab, they've really been doing some really creative things with not just with the technology, but doing some interesting stuff with story and doing some things. I think maybe the fact that they're doing like this weird, let's do a pod racing thing with Sebulba is maybe, I think, is a story that like wouldn't get greenlit if it was a movie. But like these people that are kind of playing around with all the VR stuff half here in the corner, they can get away with like, hey, we're going to do something with Sebulba and try to stop us. I think needless to say, this is really cool. I agree with some of the people that like, yeah, where's the Star Wars Pod Racer 2? Where's that game?
Yeah.
Just give us a thing on like literally all the platforms, because that would be really cool. Because we need more Pod Racer content.
How did Star Wars Angry Birds get a sequel and not Pod Racer? That's confusing to me.
That is genuinely befuddling.
There's so many sequels for Star Wars games that
the fact that Star Wars Angry Birds happened and then they did a Star Wars Angry Birds 2, just incredible.
Yeah, there you go. We have some exciting news via Instagram. Seemingly, allegedly, Jimenez Fondi plays Ezra Bridger in the Mandoverse. I say Mandoverse because I'm hoping that he's in more than Ahsoka in the future.
Yeah.
It appears that he confirmed that they've begun to film Ahsoka season 2, which is exciting.
Apparently, I mean, okay, so the real story here is that someone posted a picture of him on Instagram, assuming one of Iman's friends, and says, congrats, Iman Asfandi, on launching your podcast, Keepers of the Fire, which I might have to actually listen to that because that's interesting. That cool. Didn't know he had a podcast. And kicking off Ahsoka season 2. So he says, kicking off. What does that mean? Is he training? Is it pre-production? Did he get a script? I don't know. Like, kicking off sounds like a production start, but we haven't heard anything else. We know for a while now that we got that piece of concept art like months and months ago from Ahsoka season 2. So, and then we obviously got some rumors about the Balin castings. So more recently, so it stands to reason that they might be turning that on, and who knows? I mean, they're going to be doing an Ahsoka panel at in Tokyo in less than a month, so maybe we'll find out more there. Could be really interesting. Maybe the cast will be assembled, and maybe they'll just put them on a jet and fly to Tokyo. Maybe they'll be there. Who knows?
Wow. Yeah, that it'll be very interesting to see how that all shakes out. But that's exciting because I guess ostensibly, Ahsoka season 2 is the last Disney Plus live action Star Wars show.
That is crazy, isn't it?
There's nothing else announced.
I mean, we're hoping we'll get at least some inkling of what they're working on at Star Wars Celebration.
Exactly.
In, like I said, less than a month.
Yeah.
But also, we don't know. We don't know the streaming. I think this is going to be. Here's the thing. I would not be shocked if we go through Celebration and we don't get any announcements. Don't get anything, which would be crazy because I think we and again, it's amazing how Lucasfilm sets this up for us. They 2012, 2013, they're like, yep, Star Wars movie starting in 2015, and we're gonna have a movie every year until we all die. And like, yes. And then 2019 happened, and it was probably for the best because they would have got canceled anyway for 2020 anyway. But still, it was like oh crap, yeah, that didn't quite work out the way we thought it was. And now we got this, with the Mandalorian, we got this amazing streaming era and all these stuff shows, and we're like, oh
they
yeah,
announced 15 shows.
They announced all these things, and like, oh yeah, this is the new normal. And now it's like they're dwindling down to nothing, and we're getting no new announcements. And what's happening? Where are all the shows you promised us?
Yeah, that would be so wild if it just does a 180 again, and we go from like, the Clone Wars being canceled, and then pretty much all stuff in theaters, to then nothing in theaters for almost a decade, and just it's a dozen Disney Plus shows in various shapes or forms, down to Lego specials and everything. And then it would be basically flips back again, and it's like, yep, you'll get another season of Visions, and that's pretty much already finished. And then we're gonna finish up Ahsoka, and then that's it. No more TV, no more Disney Plus. It's just gonna be movies from here on out for the next 10 years. Like, it's just so strange that they keep teeter-tottering like that, seesaw back and forth.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look. If Celebration comes and they're like, here's a new Tales of show, and here's a new Clone Rebellion show, and Mandalorian and Grogu's coming next year, I'll be like, okay, I'm happy. That's fine. But like, it will be befuddling to be like, well, Marvel's, they're still doing Marvel shows. They're still producing those. Like they're doing a Vision show now. Like that's happening. Like Disney Plus is still going. The fact that they're arguably their biggest property, they're not going to be doing anything with it in live action sounds unrealistic. So, like I said, but who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We've got news that there's going to be something involving both George Lucas and Star Wars.
Yeah.
No, it's not a new movie. It's not him taking over the Mandalorian or like all these what the online rumors have been. It looks like The Empire Strikes Back is going to be screening at a classic film festival in Hollywood in a month. And George Lucas apparently is going to be there when it screens. What?
So I didn't know this is a thing, but apparently this has been a thing for quite a while. You have the TCM, Turner Classic Movies Classic Film Festival. It's going to be happening in Hollywood, April 24th through the 27th, which a lot of stuff happening in April this year. A lot of stuff happening. And there will be a special screening of The Empire Strikes Back, and apparently in attendance will be none other than George Walton freaking Lucas. And so I think they say in attendance, but I would imagine there will be a Q&A or something. They're going to have George Lucas in the house. They're going to probably at least bring him up on stage once and have him talk for a bit. So definitely, if you're going to be in the area, if you already have plans or could have plans to go to the Classic Film Festival, definitely go check that out. They don't give any specific information about when this screening is happening. There's no time and there's no things. I would assume if you maybe look a little deeper. Maybe there's a schedule, but I could not find it on their website.
I can't either. I can't even like really. I see tickets to the whole film festival. They say that for like $20 or $30 you can get a ticket to just one screening, but they don't say like where to buy that. So I guess a lot of that stuff hasn't been announced yet, like when the individual screenings are and like where you can purchase them. It looks like right now the only thing you can do is see when the entire festival is, which is the 24th through the 27th of April, and then buy a ticket to the whole thing, which is like $450 for the cheapest ticket for the whole thing, and there's like a premium one that's like $2,000.
Yeah, and if you look at like the slate of movies that are going to be screened, it's huge. Obviously, it's a film festival. There's going to be nonstop classic films being screened all the time, and they do say that this will be the official opening night gala screening. So maybe that's a clue that this will be on the first day. If April 24th is indeed the first day, maybe that'll be one of the big things to happen off the top. But yeah, go if you find out more, let us know. It's very interesting. Not really planning on being in Hollywood around there, but would like to know what's going on there. And obviously, anytime there's a George Lucas sighting, want to know what he says. Somebody bring a mic or a notepad. Tell us what he said, please.
I think it's going to be Friday because there's a Variety article saying that it's going to open the festival.
Oh,
and it's going to be at the Chinese Theater. So basically, what it sounds like, which is that, yeah, people are going to the Chinese Theater. They're all going to pack in there. We've been in there before. It's a pretty big place. And I think like 500, 1,000 people, something like that can fit in there.
Close to 1,000, I think. I think like 900, yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess George Lucas is going to be in there too. That's what it sounds like. Which, you know what's funny about that is, wasn't when the last time there was this big thing at the Chinese Theater, wasn't George Lucas trying everything he could to not be in that building? Was it that? What was going on?
Which movie was this? A premiere? What was going on?
I guess I'm thinking of opening day of A New Hope. At the Chinese Theater. I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was in Hawaii.
He was in Hawaii. He was in Hawaii
on opening day because he this is gonna bomb. I'm leaving. Yeah. I'm leaving the continental United States. I'm gonna go on vacation.
And so he wasn't there when there was that iconic black and white photo of that line wrapping around the block 10 times and people trying to get into the Chinese Theater to watch.
I think like, what was it? Laddie was just like, your movie, they're wrapped around the block, and George was like, nah, I don't believe you. There's no way.
So definitely coming full circle. I think he feels comfortable going to the Chinese Theater now, knowing that there will be people in it.
Right. Yeah. So and that's if it is the Chinese Theater, that's a nice theater, nice venue, and as you said, a lot of seats, so more opportunities to see him in person, which it's a pleasure to see him.
That's really
see what he's talking about. But yeah, that's exciting, and just to see The Empire Strikes Back on a big screen is something that I don't think I've ever done. So especially that theater, great sound, great picture. That in and of itself is a great thing.
Yes. There's a couple other pieces of news. There either would be me mentioning one thing in a sentence or going on a 1 hour rant. So
you never know.
I think maybe we should get to reading some listener feedback.
Because for one, I'm not sure how well we're going to be doing the listener questions over the next few weeks. Because things are gonna get crazy, very quickly, and I want to get as many questions out of the way as possible, before that happens. Let's just dive into it right now. Ask the SWU. We'll get to as many of these as possible, but there is quite a few, and I think there's even some on the Discord that I have not gotten. Because I was super busy today. Also, I wasn't supposed to be here, remember? So but our good friend Jesse, he says, wait, hang on a second.
He says, "Hey SWU, I was
supposed no. I was making sure we haven't read this one before. I'm really paranoid.
I don't think we've seen this. We've talked about this.
Right.
I wasn't here. Maybe it was a week when I was.
No. I think this is a new one. I'm just gun shy after an incident in recent memory.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, look, I'll get this one. Jesse says, Hey, SWU, I was supposed to have a question for you tonight, but didn't do any research. So my backup question is, which Star Wars media has affected you the most, either in a positive or negative way? That's a deep question. It's a deep question, Jesse. Not sure how to answer that.
I've been thinking about it. Because I peeked at this question when I was looking at the notes like an hour ago. Hour and a half ago now. And so I have an answer to both. I'm going to answer both because it's fun. So to get the negative out of the way, it's Evil Plans. The Clone Wars episode, Evil Plans.
Oh my gosh.
I've mentioned this on the show like once every 6 months, so I don't want to go too deep into it because I've explained before why it's the worst thing to ever happen to Star Wars. But, just a TLDR for anyone who has forgotten or didn't hear the episodes where I talked about it. You have an episode that is billed as the return of Cad Bane, who is one of the top tier additional new characters to Star Wars from the Clone Wars series. The episodes that he's in typically are really, really good, like Holocron Heist and Hostage Crisis, just really good episodes. And so I'm just all excited, amped up for another Cad Bane episode. And he's in a grand total of 1 minute of the episode. And the other 20 minutes of the episode are R2-D2 and C-3PO shopping and going to a spa. And I'm like, what? I was so mad after I saw that. I'm like, how could you waste this opportunity? As a writer, you're given the opportunity to write a Cad Bane story, and you give him 1 minute of screen time, and the rest is about R2 and 3PO, which we get almost every week, and not even doing anything interesting. So that's the negative one. But the positive one's not too far off from that. And this one I had to think about because this is one I've never thought about before until tonight. I honestly have to say that it was Ambush. That it was the first episode of the Clone Wars show on Cartoon Network. That was the most impactful piece of Star Wars media to me. Because obviously I could just say A New Hope is because that's the first thing that I saw, and then it led to me watching everything else. So I could say that, but I think that's too of an obvious answer. So aside from the first Star Wars thing that I saw that hooked me on more Star Wars stuff, I want to say it's Ambush, because I think that's what continued my Star Wars fandom into the post-movie era strongly. It wasn't the micro series that did it. It wasn't the other litany of multimedia that existed at the time, all the games and novels and comics, and there was a lot going on in 2008 with Star Wars. But I think the one thing that really solidified that I was going to continue being interested in Star Wars after the movies were potentially finished for good back at that time, 3 years after Revenge of the Sith had come out and there was no concept of another movie ever happening again, it wasn't the Clone Wars movie. To me, that was kind of mid. It was, not the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Good, but not the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But I think when that first actual episode of the show aired, Ambush, and that you had a really great Yoda episode where that really captured an essence of Yoda that we hadn't fully even seen since the way that he was written in Empire Strikes Back and directed by Irvin Kershner, and that amazing combination of Hamill and Oz and everything that made that so perfect. I just thought that episode was really, really great. I think the way that it kind of opened up, and humanized the clones was really great. It set such an amazing precedent. The whole show kind of basically was that tone. And I think that was totally okay, this is great. Star Wars is in good hands. This Dave Filoni guy working with George Lucas, we're going to get a lot of good stuff for a very long time, and we're still getting it. Dave Filoni's still, doing the next Star Wars movie. How many, now we're almost 20 years after that. Ambush has to be that piece of media that I think was the most. I forget what was the word that he used. I'm using the word impactful.
He said he used the word
affected me the most. Yes, so that is what I think affected me the most is ambush.
And that's a good word because I think it can be interpreted a lot of different ways. I like how you interpret it, and I'm gonna copy you here. In short, that I'm also gonna have two answers here. The first one is not the first episode of Clone Wars, but the second episode of Clone Wars, Rising Malevolence. I've told this origin story numerous times, but that was the first episode of Clone Wars I watched. But on a purely affectedness level, at that point in my life, I was just like, well, Star Wars is over. Star Wars is 6 movies and that's it. And it's just kind of done. And it's whatever. We're never, we're things. And at that point, it's just like, watch the first 6 movies over again, I guess. There's really nothing else really going on. That episode in particular blew me away. Not that it's like even the best episode of Clone Wars. Like it's not even, I'm not even sure I would consider it top 10, but it affected me in the way that it expanded my view of Star Wars. It expanded what I realized Star Wars could be. And I was like, oh, wow. And probably, growing up in a way, I think we're all kind of, taught this, well, cartoons are for kids, animations for, babies or whatever else, like that whole thing. And I think thankfully has gone the way of the dodo for the most part in our modern culture, especially the last 10, 15, 20 years. But I think it taught me that like, oh, this is animated, but it's still Star Wars. It's still made by the same people, made by George Lucas. It feels the same. It looks the same. It just happens to be animated. And that was my takeaway. I think ultimately that's what I took away from it. I think that pulled me in and just like, oh, Star Wars can be so much more. And it can be this huge thing and it can continue. And that kind of started my journey of like being more of a fan and being more involved in things. And that from there, I got involved in the fan community and I got to talk to people online and then yada, yada, yada. I'm here. Okay. So that was how it affected me. The second, probably most effective piece of Star Wars ever, it has to be The Last Jedi. It has to be for me, because that movie came in a time where I think I had gone through life being like, oh, Star Wars is great. It's great. All this kind of stuff. And, watching the original trilogy and then watching the prequel trilogy and then like going online and being like, oh, people don't like this. Why is that? And going through us and then kind of coming out the other side being like, okay, well, those movies, people have a right to dislike them, but I like them. And I accept them for the flaws of whatever else. And then going forward and watching the Clone Wars, looking at that critically, but then ultimately coming on like some episodes, like Evil Plans, aren't great, but most of the other episodes are really, really good. And I like this. And then going from that to Star Wars Rebels, which is a show that kind of challenged me at first, but still affected me. Then going to The Force Awakens, then going to Rogue One, 2 movies I adore. I still adore, blew me away. And I love them so much, despite their flaws. And The Last Jedi was the movie that really challenged me in the most abrupt, most confronting way possible, of like planting the idea in my head that, oh, there can be a Star Wars movie that I don't like. There is this idea, this is foreign concept of there's a Star Wars movie that could be bad. And like, ultimately, I don't believe that. I don't think The Last Jedi is a bad movie at all. I still don't really think there's a bad Star Wars movie. There may be one contender, maybe, but it's not The Last Jedi. And I think it's a movie that I grew to love. I grew to appreciate. I grew to say, okay, the things that challenged me don't overrule the things that I really, really liked and things. I think it's one of the best Star Wars movies now. But it was a process for me. And it really taught me to how I approach things, how I approach any media, how I do any of this, how I think critically about things, how I have fun with media and turn the critical part of my brain off. And ultimately, it's a movie that, it ultimately I really, really love, but it taught me to have reasonable expectations and not just go, well, this is going to be the best thing ever. it may not be. It may just be fine, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. I think going back to the things that are very similar about the things that have impacted us, I remember now that those two Clone Wars episodes, Ambush and then the first of the Malevolence arc, that those actually aired on the same day. It was a 2-episode premiere. And so I watched it the day after on iTunes. That's how I watched it. I don't know how long it took you to.
That was the usual thing. And see kids, there was no streaming back in the day.
Yes.
Things just didn't drop on the things.
Yeah.
Either you were home at a certain time when it played, or you didn't see the thing. And I usually wasn't home on Friday nights when Clone Wars was airing. So usually speaking, I would wait until Saturday morning. At some point during the night, they would upload the newest episode of Clone Wars to iTunes. And you can still, I think you can still buy things off iTunes. I don't know if anybody actually does it anymore, but it's a thing. And I still to this day have a bunch of random Clone Wars episodes on. If I open up my old iPod, they're in there. And that's how I watch them. And literally how I watched Clone Wars first time was like, oh, there's 2 episodes. I'm just going to pick this one because it looks cool. I don't know about this show. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. So I'm just going to watch this Rising Malevolence and see how it goes. And the rest, they say, is history.
I think that's pretty incredible because basically what that means is that it was kind of around the same time, maybe even the same moment, the same day when we both had that.
It is crazy. It is crazy if you think about it.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. It's just it was a different episode for me than for you because we just picked a different one to start with. But basically, it was that 2-episode premiere that was that moment for both of us.
And it's crazy that I only bought Rising Malevolence. I didn't buy the other episodes because I was a kid and I didn't have a lot of disposable income. I bought, one episode, and I really only bought the episodes that I really, really liked because I wanted to repeatedly watch them. I've seen Rising Malevolence probably 150, 200 times. To this day, I've probably seen Ambush like 10 times, probably. Because I didn't have access to it. I didn't buy it back then, so I never had it. And then Disney Plus comes along, 15 years later, and now it's there, and also completely uncut. It still blows me away the stuff that they cut out of the cuts, and then there's whole scenes that are in the Disney Plus version that are not things like there's parts of Clone Wars I've never seen because I've never actually watched them on Disney Plus proper. So it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's probably the same for me as well. Yeah, that's fascinating. That's a great question, Jesse. I love that question.
Yeah, great. Excellent question, Jesse. Thank you so much for that. Okay, Joel has one. Joel has a few. Okay, we'll get to at least one tonight, Joel. I apologize. But he says, "Hey, Underworld, a bit of an odd question this week. Never an odd question for you, Joel. But do you think fans tend to criticize various Star Wars films, TV shows, and even books and comics based on what they want them to be rather than what they actually are? A good example of this is how people used to criticize Star Wars Rebels because it wasn't like Andor, a gritty, deep political spy thriller, instead of recognizing that Rebels was more of a traditional, pulpy Star Wars show with a lot of heart. What do you guys think? Do fans unfairly critique Star Wars projects because they don't match their expectations rather than evaluating them based on what they're actually trying to accomplish?"
Dang. I think that's something that's been going on a lot further back than Rebels. I mean, I think for a lot of people that goes back to Return of the Jedi. Like, I think there's a lot of people who sat down and watched Empire Strikes Back, and Empire Strikes Back is such a dark movie that ends on a cliffhanger and is not really a happy ending. And I think people were expecting kind of a similar grittiness to Return of the Jedi, and I think we're turned off by some of the Ewok stuff and the levity that's in that movie. And so I think there was a bit of that there, where a certain core segment, a certain piece of Star Wars fans from the first couple movies dropped off. And then I think that there also was obviously that big moment where all those expectations about what the Phantom Menace were going to be and was going to be. And I think a lot of people thought the Phantom Menace was going to have, again, that same kind of tone as The Empire Strikes Back. And kind of like a Star Wars that had matured, 15 years, because it had been that long since the last one. And, instead it went the other way. It kind of was for people 15 years younger than 15 years older than a lot of the fans of the originals. So I think that being the next generation of Star Wars really surprised people and did not meet their expectations. And that's why I think you have that effect where originally the prequels were almost universally panned by people old enough to write about them and have opinions that traveled about them. Yet now, when we look back at them, most of them are pretty favorably viewed, especially Revenge of the Sith, by the population, because I think just they were crushed by the weight of their own expectations for many, many, many years. And so I think Star Wars that's just a primary aspect of the relationship between the audience and Star Wars that's basically affected every single piece of media.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think this is a generational thing. I think it happens with every generation of Star Wars fans. I think, I think the great example is Empire, and, like New Hope being this very much middle of the road thing of like being kind of an epitome of what Star Wars is. And then Empire is like dark and gritty, still funny and goofy in its own way. People forget that. You're like, oh, it's dark and gritty. No, Empire Strikes Back is one of the funniest Star Wars films, in my opinion. It's still very much goofy in its own way. But, and then you have Return of the Jedi, people like disappointed that, oh, there's teddy bears in this? It's supposed to be dark and gritty things. Like, and you fast forward to, oh, Phantom Menace is too cutesy. And Attack of the Clones is too sappy. Oh, Revenge of the Sith, no, this is gold standard. This is A+, dark, gritty. We're killing people. This is good stuff. I think the same goes towards, Andor and like the I say I don't want to categorize everyone like this, but like the edgelords. They're always going to pick something that is super dark and gritty and be like, this is the best good stuff. And I'm not shaming anyone. If you like dark and gritty stuff, yes, okay, do that. But I do take issue with the people that are like, all Star Wars needs to be this. All Star Wars needs to be this dark and gritty thing. Because yes, Star Wars can be dark and gritty. It can also be goofy. And one of the reasons why I think there's always going to be room for stuff like, I think the goofiness and the campiness and the silliness of Mandalorian is needed. It's why Andor isn't my favorite Star Wars show, because it is very serious and it's not, I think it lacks the goofiness. It lacks the oomph that a lot of other Star Wars projects do. And I think that is a ultimate part of Star Wars. Andor is just like picking out a aspect of Star Wars and magnifying it, which nothing wrong with that, but it's always going to be, some people are going to gravitate to that. And in Andor's case, most people have gravitated toward that because it's really good. But also, I wish Andor was a little more goofy. I'm kind of excited for season 2 now, really, because now they're injecting K2SO, who is basically a slapstick comedic character. How are they going to balance that tone? How is Tony Gilroy going to deal with the shenanigans that Alan Tudyk and K2SO bring to that dynamic? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's, gosh, I can't really tell if it's because I just hear so much from Star Wars fans because of just all the people that I know. Like, I don't know if it's because of that it makes me feel like Star Wars has something that's unique beyond other franchises with this, attitude that people have towards it of, it has to be my version of what I think it should be, or otherwise it's not good. Like, or if that's just happens with everything and I just don't pay attention to it elsewhere because I'm not paying attention. But I feel like Star Wars just just gets a little bit more of that than pretty much any other franchise, unfortunately, where, you know, people have a hard time picking and choosing. And there just tends to be this general, I just have never so many times heard a person say, like, you know, the franchise is ruined. Like, I don't hear people saying that about all the other things. Like, I've ever once heard someone say Star Trek is ruined, Doctor Who is ruined. Never. I don't understand this idea of you have all this good stuff, and then you continue to have good stuff that everybody agrees is good, but because of one or two things that just weren't your cup of tea or just weren't good by any metric, fairly, it's ruined. Like, why? Why does that ruin it? That's not how it works. It's not like, you know, one poison apple poisons the whole bunch. That's not how it works.
Yeah, it is. Like, I can understand. I've always said this, like, with like the special edition, like, I get why people, like, I've never had that much anger towards anything in the special edition. I think most of the changes I've really liked, and I think they've improved the movies. But I understand why people get so angry about not only the fact that the movies are changed, but the fact that they can't get their hands on the original things, because, like, it is changing something that they are familiar with. And it is, quote unquote, ruining it, that you can't see that original version. I get that anger. But for the most part, with any franchise, the stuff you loved is still there. A new thing is not going to ruin it for you. And it always just boggles my mind, the things people say that just like, oh, it's ruined. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't see it. I do not get it. I do not get why, if, you know, we all have, you know, a freedom to not watch something if you don't want to watch it. There's been plenty of sequels from plenty of franchises that I didn't like. It doesn't change the fact that the original movie is great. So it's just amazing and a bit mind-boggling. What people say, especially online, but they've been saying it. This kind of stuff happened pre-internet too. It's nothing new.
Jeez, that last single that Beethoven dropped ruined it. Just all Beethoven, you know. My childhood is ruined.
I'm telling you, man.
Come on, Beethoven, like that. He really lost it with that one.
Come on, he could have stopped while he was ahead. Could have just kept it perfect, but no, he had to keep going and ruin it all.
Yeah, it's like wild. Thanks, Joel.
All right, thanks, Joel, for that. We got time for one more question, maybe?
Yeah, let's do one more.
Let's do one more. We got one from our good friend Hugh. Dr. Hugh says on Discord, what ship would you want to repair and potentially steal from the salvage yards on Ferrix? For example, I'd love to get my hands on a Y-Wing before the Empire can confiscate and dismantle the bomber for scrap, as demonstrated in Rebels and the Rogue One visual guide. Now, I'm trying to think back exactly. I literally just watched that episode. I literally just watched the whole season. What ships are in the salvage yard on Ferrix? Because there is quite a few. I'm going to say my answer is going to be the one that I do remember is there, which I think there's a VCX 100 there, I think, which is the Ghost ship.
Oh,
I've always loved that design. So that's great. I think there is, like Q says, I think there's a Y-Wing. The ship that Cassian uses is kind of weird and cool, and it's kind of like a Y-Wing-esque vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't can't think of anything else. But I know that there is some pretty cool ones there.
Don't they have a decommissioned? There's Star Destroyers there too.
Is there?
I think so.
Oh yeah, because it's like the big salvage yard where they're like cutting up ships. It's like
there's that one too. So I don't know if it's cheating, but I'm just gonna say I want a whole Star Destroyer. So.
Yeah, and I'm also looking at a screenshot. There's several. There's what Ketsu flies in Rebels. One of those. I don't know what the name of it is.
Yeah.
And there's also Ochia Bestoon's ship.
Of course. I remember that was a bit of a thing when we found that out.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely want a Star Destroyer. I don't like tiny ships. I want a big one.
Yeah, no, I think
I want to live. If I'm going to live on a ship, I want some space to do things. A whole Star Destroyer. I'll take a whole Star Destroyer, please.
Come on, I mean, it's a moving city. Come on now.
Yeah,
Can't go wrong with that. They are fascinating.
Yeah.
Great question, Hugh. Thank you for that. That was good.
Thank
love
you.
Getting back, and maybe I don't know. Maybe we'll see I don't think we're going back to Ferrix in Andor, but it would be cool to see what's going on in the salvage yard. In season 2. I think that's it. I think we are done for the night.
Yes.
Great to have you, and great to have me. I wasn't again. This is weird. I didn't expect to be doing this today, but here we are.
I know everything. I literally earlier today I thought that this was going to be a solo show. I thought I was going to be the only one doing the show for like 2 seconds, and then somehow Hannah could come
because the group chat was just like a cacophony of people that weren't going to show up to the show, including me.
Yeah.
And this wasn't a joke. I legitimately thought up until like an hour ago that I was not going to be here. So crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm glad it happened.
Somehow all 4 of us ended up on the show at the beginning. Somehow. That was amazing how that happens. So yeah, we want to thank everybody for listening on your favorite podcast app. Make sure you give us a review, and for watching on YouTube and various other social media that has videos playing on it. Make sure you subscribe and follow us over there. We want to thank Hannah for being on the show. You can follow her at the Raeside, Raeside. And we want to thank Dominic for being on the show. You can follow him at DominicJ25. Ben, thank you for making it the distance.
Well, I think I can say with some authority, of course, things can change, that I will be here next week.
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. As said by previous hosts, it's going to get crazy the next few weeks because some people are not going to be here. Might be bringing on some extra stuff, and we're toying with some ideas about some extra shows during Celebration Week. We'll see how that goes. I'm hesitant to actually commit to anything because doing one show a week is sometimes a struggle. But really want to do something special for Celebration, and I'll be the one holding down the fort back here and back here in the old United States. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah. I'm really glad to be here tonight. Genuinely, this has been an unexpected pleasure.
Awesome. You can follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E. You can follow me at Seek3PO. On your way out, we also want to remind you to check out our Discord. We got something planned tomorrow, Ben, on
I believe very on brand for us. I believe we were watching episodes of Andor for movie night.
Perfect.
So yeah, we'll make it a movie by watching some Andor and just watch a couple episodes and it'll be like a movie, and we'll get to refresh ourselves on Andor prior to season 2.
That sounds amazing. So links in the description and the show notes for Discord, and of course check out all the other great content we have going on at the network. We got Hannah this show, the Raeside, over on her channel, the Raeside, and on this channel we got Iron Cannon and Tractor Beam, and then we got titles from Beyond the Galaxy over on their channel. So check them out as well. So that's it. We'll be back with another show with certainly at least Ben on it next week in 7 days. But until then, have a great week, everybody. For Hannah and for Dom and Ben, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you. It's a wrap.